My husband forgot our 10th anniversary but threw a $31,000 party for his mother's 60th that same week. When I confronted him, his sister said, "She actually matters." His mom added, "You're not close family." I smiled. The next day, I served divorce papers at her party. His aunt fainted when she read aloud that I owned everything. My husband forgot our 10th anniversary on a Monday. I know the day because I woke up at 6:03 a.m. to my phone buzzing on the nightstand, and the first thing I saw was a calendar alert I set months ago. 10 years. Dinner reservation, 7:30, Oak and Ash. I lay there listening to Mark shower like it was any other day. Our daughter, Emma, padded into our room in her socks and climbed into bed without asking, which is what kids do when they feel the air is off. "Is it the special day?" she whispered. "It's the special day," I said, and my mouth went dry when I said it out loud. Mark came out in a towel, already checking his email. I smiled anyway. "Happy anniversary." He paused like I'd spoken a language he used to know. "Oh," he said, blinking. "Right, babe. Yeah, happy. 10. Emma's eyes flicked between us. I waited for the second part. The hug, the "I have something," the "I made plans," anything. Mark grabbed his belt, threaded it through, and said, "I'm going to be late. Big week." I sat up. "We have dinner at 7:30. He frowned. "Tonight?" I stared at him. "Yes, tonight. The reservation you confirmed last week. You replied perfect at 9:14 p.m. He waved his hand like facts were annoying. I thought that was for something else. "For what?" I asked. He pulled on his shirt. "Mom's party stuff. Kara's been texting nonstop." His sister, Kara, had been texting nonstop. I knew because Mark's phone never stopped lighting up like a slot machine. Emma whispered, "Daddy, I made you a card." Mark's face softened for half a second. He reached down and patted her head like she was a dog. "Thanks, kiddo. I'll look at it later." Emma's mouth tightened. She slid out of bed and walked away without the card. My hands got cold. Mark grabbed his laptop bag. "We can do anniversary another night, okay? This week is nuts." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I just said, "Another night?" He nodded, already halfway out the bedroom. "Yeah, don't make it a thing." At 8:12 a.m., I got a notification from our credit card app. Charge approved. $8,640. Lux Event Group. I stared at the screen. Then another one. Charge approved. $2,190. Bella Flora Design. Then another. Charge approved. $4,755. Vivid Rentals. Tent/heaters. My brain did that calm counting thing it does when something is wrong. 8,640, 2,190, 4,755. Emma sat at the kitchen table eating cereal in tiny, careful bites, watching me like my face was a weather report again. I opened Mark's email on the iPad he forgot to log out of. Subject line, Diane Miller's 60th. Final invoice attached. His mother's name, his mother's birthday, his mother's party, and a total at the bottom of the PDF that made my throat go tight, $31,000. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I screenshot everything and created a folder on my desktop called Receipts. Then I texted Mark one sentence, me, 8:27 a.m. Call me before lunch. We need to talk about the $31,000 party. He replied 9 minutes later, Mark, 8:36 a.m. Not now, don't start drama this week. My hands went colder. Emma whispered, Mom? I looked at my kid, and I realized something clean and simple. Mark didn't forget. He chose. I'm Emily Miller. I'm 34. I'm a CPA in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I run payroll and books for 3 small construction companies that think organized means throwing receipts in a shoebox. Mark is 38. He's a regional sales director for a medical device company. He's charming in public and tired at home, which is a fun combination when you're the person who keeps the real life running. We've been together since I was 19, married at 24. For 10 years, I kept telling myself the same sentence. It's just a season. It wasn't. The pattern started small. His mom, Diane, has this soft voice she uses when she's saying something cruel, like she's offering tea while she pushes you off a cliff. The first year we were married, she came to our apartment and looked around like she was inspecting a rental. She smiled and said, "This is cute. Starter." Then she asked Mark in front of me, "So when are you going to buy a real house?" Mark laughed like it was nothing. "Soon," I said. "We're saving." Diane didn't look at me. She looked at Mark and said, "Good. A man should provide." That was the first time I felt that weird little thing in my chest, like I'd spoken and it didn't land anywhere. Then came incident number 2. Emma was 2. I was back at work. Mark had a conference in Chicago. Diane offered to help by staying with us for a week. On day 3, I came home and found Emma's hair cut into crooked bangs. Emma was sitting on the floor with a cartoon playing, thumb in her mouth, looking at me like she'd done something wrong. "What happened?" I asked. Diane appeared from the kitchen with a satisfied smile. "I fixed it." "Fixed what?" I said. "She looked messy," Diane said, still smiling. "I couldn't let my granddaughter look neglected." My mouth went dry. "You cut my child's hair without asking." Diane's smile didn't move. "Don't make a scene. Family helps." When Mark got home, I told him. He sighed and said, "She was just trying to help." That was the family language. Help meant control, and if you protested, you were dramatic. Incident number 3 was money. 3 years ago, Mark borrowed $9,800 from our joint savings to cover Kara's emergency. Kara was between jobs. Again. Her rent was due. Again. I found out because I saw the transfer. I asked Mark, "Why is the savings lower?" He said, "It's for Kara." I said, "You didn't ask." He said, "It's family." I said, "We have a child." He looked at me like I was being unreasonable for bringing up the kid we created. "Emily," he said, "don't be like that. It's temporary." Kara never paid it back. Diane told me over dinner, "Kara needs support. She actually matters." I remember that line because Emma was coloring at the table, quiet, and she paused mid-crayon stroke. Kids notice which adults get protected. I used to swallow it. I'd smile through the comments. I'd change the subject. I'd pay the bill. I'd tell myself, at least Mark is good in other ways. But good in other ways doesn't fix a husband who treats you like a side character in your own marriage. By year 10, I wasn't just tired. I was done. And the week of our anniversary, they didn't even bother hiding it anymore. At 11:52 a.m., Mark called me. He sounded annoyed, like I'd interrupted his real life. "What," he said, "is your problem?" I looked at my laptop. I had the invoices open. "My problem," I said calmly, "is you spent $31,000 on your mother's party the same week you forgot our anniversary." He scoffed. "I didn't forget. I've just been busy." I laughed once, quietly, because it was either that or scream. "Mark," I said, "you confirmed our reservation." You replied, "Perfect." Then you pretended you didn't know what I was talking about. He snapped, "Stop keeping score." "Keeping score?" I repeated. "This is a number on a credit card statement." He lowered his voice. "Kara said you'd do this." "Oh?" I said. "Kara's involved." "Everyone's involved," he said. "It's Mom's 60th. It's a big deal." "And our 10 years isn't?" Silence. Then his tone shifted into that reasonable voice that always made my skin crawl. "Emily," he said, "don't be selfish. Mom has done so much for us." I looked around my kitchen, the house I bought, the fridge I stocked, the school forms I signed. "Name one thing," I said. "One thing your mother has done for us that wasn't actually for you." He didn't answer. He just said, "The party's already paid, so can you just be flexible?" Flexible. Another family word. It meant fold. That night, I got a group text. Kara had made one of her little planning chats. Kara, "Party week. Everyone please be on time. Emily, you're bringing the champagne, right?" I stared at that. I hadn't been asked. I'd been assigned. I typed one question. Me, 7:18 p.m. "Why is our card paying for this?" Kara replied instantly. Kara, "Because Mark is a good son." Diane jumped in. Diane, "This is family business. Don't embarrass yourself." Mark wrote. Mark, "Please stop, not in this chat." And then Kara sent the line that sliced clean. Kara, "She actually matters." I didn't respond right away. Emma was on the couch beside me watching a show with the volume low. She wasn't really watching. She was listening to my breathing. I went to our room, shut the door, and opened my laptop again. I pulled up the documents I hadn't looked at in years because I thought love meant not needing them. The deed to our house, the operating agreement for my firm, the prenup Mark signed when we got married because his mom insisted, ironically, on protecting the family. Diane had pushed for it, smiling sweetly, like she was doing me a favor. I remembered her exact words from that meeting 10 years ago. "It's just paperwork. If you're close family, you won't mind." I was young enough to believe that. Turns out that paperwork was the one thing in my life that didn't lie. Wave 1 of Escalation came as guilt. Mark came home late. He didn't apologize. He just acted like I was already the problem. At 10:41 p.m., he said, "Can you not ruin this for my mom?" I asked, "Did you ruin our anniversary?" He stared at me like I'd spoken nonsense. At 6:32 a.m. the next morning, Diane called. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail anyway. Her voice was smooth. "Emily, sweetheart, I don't know what you think you're doing, but Mark needs peace this week. You're not close family. Don't forget your place." I replayed it twice. Not because I needed to feel it again, because I wanted the timestamp. Wave 2 came as practical harm. At 2:07 p.m., I got an email from the venue. Subject, "Seating chart confirmation needed, Diane's 60th." It wasn't addressed to Mark. It was addressed to me, because the deposit was under my card, because they assumed I was the planner. I called them. "Hi," I said. "This is Emily Miller. I need a copy of every invoice, every contract, and the name on the booking." The coordinator sounded cheerful. "Of course. It's under Mark Miller, but the card is yours." I said, "Thank you. Email it to me. Today." Then I called my bank. I froze the card. I didn't cancel the party. Not yet. I just removed my money from their reach. Then I texted Mark one sentence. Me, 2:26 p.m. "Do not use my accounts again. We need to meet tonight at 8 o'clock, kitchen table." He replied, "Mark, you're overreacting." I stared at that word. Overreacting. Another family weapon. At 8 p.m., Mark sat at the kitchen table like he was doing me a favor. I slid a printed stack across the table. Receipts, screenshots, invoices, the voicemail transcript. Mark glanced down, annoyed. "What is this?" he asked. "This," I said, "is you spending $31,000 while telling me to be flexible." He pushed it back. "Emily, stop." I asked for one concrete answer. "Where is the money coming from, Mark? Because it isn't coming from me." He leaned back. "We're married." I nodded once. "So you think you can take?" He rubbed his face. "It's for Mom. She deserves it." "And I don't?" I asked. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He said, "You're not going to make me choose." That was the moment. Not because it surprised me, because it clarified everything. I stood up, took the papers back, and said, "Okay." He looked relieved. He thought okay meant I'd fold. It didn't. That's when I stopped arguing and started documenting. Diane's party was Thursday night, May 15th. A private room at a country club in Cary. Gold balloons, a photo wall that said, "Diane 60 like she was a brand." Mark left the house in a suit and didn't ask if I was coming. He just said, "Please behave." I smiled. Of course. At 5:09 p.m., I emailed my attorney. Proceed. At 6:22 p.m., a Wake County deputy in a crisp uniform walked into the country club with a folder in his hand. I know the exact minute because Kara posted a live video of the party to her Instagram story, and you can see the deputy's shoulder enter the frame. Mark was holding a champagne flute, laughing at something Diane said. Diane was wearing a navy dress and a pearl necklace that screamed, "I'm important." Kara saw the deputy first. Her smile faltered like a glitch. The deputy asked, "Mark Miller?" Mark's laugh died mid-breath. "That's me," he said, still trying to sound confident. "You've been served," the deputy said, plain and professional. Kara gasped, loud, on purpose. Diane's face tightened. "Excuse me, this is a private event." The deputy didn't look at her. "Sir, these are legal documents." Mark snatched the folder like he could erase it with his hands. And that's when Aunt Linda, Diane's sister, the dramatic one, leaned in. "Let me see," she said, grabbing the top page before Mark could fold it closed. Mark hissed, "Linda, no!" But Linda was already reading. Out loud. Because some people can't resist being the center of anything, including a disaster. "Petition for absolute divorce," she read, voice rising. "Oh my God." Diane's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Kara lunged. "Stop reading!" Linda kept going anyway, eyes scanning fast. "Schedule A, marital property and separate property," she read. "What is this?" She flipped, and then her voice changed, not louder, smaller. "Primary residence located at 1841 Hawthorne Ridge Drive, titled solely in the name of Emily Carter Miller, purchased prior to marriage, down payment sourced from inheritance." Diane's face went gray. Mark's eyes snapped toward me across the room like he'd just realized I existed again. I was standing near the back, calm, holding my purse. Emma was at home with my sister because I wasn't bringing my kid into that room. Linda flipped again, still reading. "Miller and Company Accounting LLC, see sole member Emily Carter Miller, business accounts excluded." Kara's voice went shrill. "This is not happening." Diane's hands trembled. "Mark," she whispered, "tell her to stop." Linda's eyes widened as she reached the last page, the one my attorney included on purpose. "Prenuptial agreement dated June 4th, 2015. In event of dissolution. No claim on separate property." Linda sucked in a breath. Then she made a sound like a hiccup and went down sideways. 2 women screamed. Someone knocked over a tray. The DJ actually stopped the music like we were in a movie, and for a second the room was dead silent except for Diane's breathing, fast and thin. Mark stepped toward me, face tight with rage and panic. "You did this here?" he hissed. I didn't match his energy. I said, "You wanted a big week." He clenched his jaw. "You're humiliating my mother." Diane found her voice again, trembling with anger. "How dare you? After everything—" I looked at her. "You told me I'm not close family." Kara pointed at me like I was on trial. "You're petty. You're cruel." I smiled small. "No," I said. "I'm finished." Mark tried to grab my wrist. The deputy stepped between us immediately. "Sir, do not touch her." Mark froze, eyes wide, because witnesses change men. I delivered one clean sentence, the boundary. "Mark, you can communicate through my attorney from now on." Then I turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard Diane's voice crack into something ugly. "You're nothing without us." I didn't turn back, because the paperwork already answered her. The next morning, at 9:02 a.m., I changed the locks. Not in a dramatic way. I scheduled a locksmith online and paid the invoice way. At 9:47 a.m., I opened a new checking account in my name only and moved my direct deposit. At 10:15 a.m., I emailed Emma's school with an updated pickup list. At 11:30 a.m., Mark showed up pounding on the front door like he lived there. I watched him through the Ring camera. He texted, "Mark, open the door." I didn't. He called. I didn't answer. He texted again. "Mark, you can't lock me out." I replied one sentence. "Me. You were served. Talk to my attorney." He sent a paragraph after that, then another, then voice messages. Kara tried a different angle. She showed up at my office that afternoon, eyes red, voice sharp. "You really did it," she said. "At her party." I kept my tone calm. "Yes." Kara scoffed. Do you know what you did to her? She's on blood pressure meds now. I stared at her. She told me I'm not close family. Kara's lip curled. Because you're not. I nodded once. Okay. And that was it. No debate, no performance. Kara leaned forward like she wanted to win. You think you're so smart because you hid everything, I corrected her softly. I didn't hide it. You just never read anything that didn't benefit you. 2 days later, Diane tried the apology tactic. A cake showed up at my door with a little card that said, "Let's talk like adults." No signature, no accountability, just a demand wrapped in sugar. I threw it out unopened. Emma asked that night, sitting on the floor in her pajamas, "Is Daddy mad at you?" I sat beside her and smoothed her hair back. "Daddy is mad," I said carefully, "because things are changing." "Did I do something?" she whispered. My chest tightened. I put my hand on her small shoulder. "No, never. Adults made adult choices." She nodded like she was trying to be brave. Then she said, "Do we still live here?" "We do," I said. "This is our home." A week later, Mark emailed me from a new address. Subject, "Can we please just reset?" In the body. "I'm sorry you felt hurt. Mom didn't mean it. Kara was emotional. We can do counseling. I'll make it up to you. Let's not blow up 10 years. I forwarded it to my attorney. No reply. Because sorry you felt hurt isn't an apology. It's a strategy. The peace didn't arrive like fireworks. It arrived like quiet mornings. Emma laughing at a dumb video at breakfast. Me drinking coffee without my stomach in a knot. Me walking through my own house without feeling like I had to earn my spot in it. They tried one last tactic. The family meeting. Diane texted from Mark's phone. Because of course she did. "Diane, we need to meet. This is family." I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote one sentence back. "Me. Access to me is not a family right." And I blocked the number. Love doesn't require auditions. Respect isn't something you beg for at your own kitchen table. And if someone can spend $31,000 celebrating the woman who taught them to minimize you, they've already told you where you stand. So I believed them. And I stayed gone. I'm not available for that.